Good morning, and thank you for being here today. And I also want to thank folks who are watching from Spokane. Hopefully there's streaming video for us all. So this is just always such an exciting time. It's just amazing to be able to start a new academic year. And Eastern Washington University is really on an amazing trajectory right now. Increasingly, we're being recognized around the state and around the country for our innovative academic programs, for the pathways that we're creating for students to get through to graduation and be successful after they graduate, and for the contributions that we're making to our local communities. Faculty are engaging students in the joy of learning. Our staff are doing an amazing job to ensure we have a safe and beautiful campus, and that there are processes in place to support our students and to give them dynamic, meaningful experiences. And then our incredible diverse students are already making a positive difference in their communities. So Eastern continues to transform lives through learning, and it's wonderful to be starting a new academic year. I also wanted to go back and remind us all of some of the achievements that we had in the last 12 months or so. I think some of us, we get something important done, and then we sort of check that off the list and we move on to the next thing, and we don't stop and celebrate some of the wonderful things that got done in this last year. So and these are just some highlights. But we opened a teaching health clinic in Spokane in partnership with St. Luke's. We approved a new approach to general education. We've been expanding opportunities for online learning, and those things take a lot of collaboration, a lot of work by a lot of people. Back in 2015, we talked about how important it would be to change advising, academic advising on this campus. We said if we are really going to help our students be successful, we need to rethink advising. And we worked out a process and a timeline to get all of that done by fall of 2017. And so here we are. We have a new advising center. We have hired more advisors. We have trained people on new software, and we have rethought our approach to academic advising. And this is a huge, heavy lift, but the students who are coming in this fall, I believe, will have an advising experience second to none in the country. So that's amazing, yes. Thank you, everybody. So some other things. Our summer enrollment this summer was 6% over the last summer. Our retention of first-year students is continuing to go up, and it will continue to rise as new advising and other things come into place to support our students. We opened a multicultural center. It's in Showalter right now as we wait for the pub to reopen. We've hired an interim director. Victor Rodriguez is doing that work, and we have a search underway for a permanent director. We have worked to strengthen our relationships with local tribes. We have a fitness center now in Spokane that we've opened in partnership with WSU. Our students really wanted to see a fitness center, and so we're really happy that that has happened. We had several forums for critical thought on the campus and brought in renowned scientists from around the country to the campus. We also held several President's Dialogues on Diversity this past year, and we packed Hargreaves Library with faculty, staff, and students who came together to talk about issues that are at the forefront of people's minds on campuses and in communities around the country. And we will continue to do that series this year and into the future. We hosted some important people. We hosted Congresswoman Maxine Waters this past year. We hosted the Lieutenant Governor. We hosted 2 Washington State Supreme Court justices this year. We hired a new Dean of Business and Public Administration, Dr. Ahmad Tatunchi, and we listened to faculty, staff, and students. And we've hired our founding director, our founding vice president of diversity and inclusion, Dr. Sherry Clark, and we're so happy that she's here. And we also listened to the campus as folks asked for more leadership and more support in areas such as assessment and advising and counseling and institutional research. And so we've hired a number of people to provide support in areas that were asked for. And of course, we've hired new faculty. So we have about 50 new faculty coming here starting this fall. They have come from all over the country and from other countries, from as far away as China and Iran and Greece and as close by as Canada. So we've been doing a lot this year, and of course the most important thing we've been doing is educating and graduating thousands of students. And so we have done a terrific job of that, and the majority of our students who have just graduated are already in the professional workforce or are in graduate school. So we had, for instance, our Masters of Science students in Communication Sciences and Disorders who graduated in May, and 100% of them have passed their praxis exam, the national exam. And 100% of them are employed. We had students like Ricardo Ely, who was a McNair Scholar, and both a biology and a geology major. He did his undergraduate research on a newly found theropod dinosaur from Antarctica, and he's now a graduate student in paleontology at Indiana University. And by the way, one of our claims to fame this past year is that our McNair program has been renewed, which is not an easy thing in this political environment. And kudos to everybody who made that happen. We had Hayden Griffiths, who has been hired by the Navy as an interpretive cryptographic technician, which is amazing. I don't know what it is, but it sounds wonderful. We also had a 2017 finance graduate with a 3.62 GPA who already has a very impressive Wikipedia page, Cooper Kupp, who is a wide receiver for the Los Angeles Rams. And so we have done many, many wonderful things and have educated and graduated students, and of course we're going to continue to do that. But I do have to talk about the fact that we are in a challenging environment. We have lots of opportunities, but clearly we have lots of challenges ahead of us. We're in a very competitive world for students. Students have lots of options, and we're in a challenging environment for resources as we fight every day for resources from the legislature. We see shifting political sands. We have changing demographics. We have changing generations of students, changing technologies, changing needs of our communities and businesses. So it's really almost an unprecedented time. And I've stolen an acronym from the military, and I call this time a VUCA time. We're in a volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous time in our lives. Volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. It's a very uncertain time. Just in Washington here, we do have an operating budget that we got from our legislature in this last session, but we don't have a capital budget. And that's not just us, that is all of the schools, colleges, universities, agencies in the state. We don't have a capital budget. And That's significant. It's not just that we don't have a science building at this very moment, but that budget sustains salaries for a number of people, and it helps us provide the maintenance and upkeep for our campus, our campuses. And so we're going to get through this. We will get through it, but it's a difficult time. And so this is part of this very volatile and uncertain environment that we're in. And so we have to be analyzing our environment. We need to be looking at what is changing, and we need to get ahead of that change. As you know, we've been working on a strategic planning process, and this is an extremely important time for us to be doing that work. So our current strategic plan comes to an end in 2017, and most of the people in this room have been engaged in one way or another in the conversations that have been going forward about strategic planning for the next iteration of our plan. Now, these conversations are going to have to be ongoing. We will have a new plan launching later on this fall. We need to do some more work with regard to really hearing from everybody on priorities, on the strategies and goals that we're going to set, the benchmarks that we're going to set, the timelines, et cetera. So I'm not going to be laying out our strategic plan here. I'll just mention a couple of themes that have been very, very strong in the conversations that have gone forward. But first I'll say, I know there's a lot of skepticism about strategic planning. I mean, on every campus I've been on, people have talked about how the strategic plan just sits on a shelf gathering dust, or that it has had no effect on the progress of the university. And I really beg to differ. The strategic plan that we created that is coming to an end now has been highly significant for Eastern. We created a very strong, laser-like focus on student success. And out of that student success, we have set the priorities for reforming general education. Out of that came rethinking advising. Out of that came the Learning Commons, and also the Faculty Commons, and many more initiatives that came forward in the last 5 years because we wanted to strengthen our commitment to student success. We wanted to make sure that we were doing everything we could to help those students be successful in college and find that pathway forward to graduation. And so it has been a very meaningful plan for us. And so now, this next iteration of a strategic plan, we're going to obviously maintain our focus on student success. That's always going to be there. But we have to look at the change and the VUCA environment that we're in. And we not only have to be proactive, we have to get ahead of change, not just to be reactive. But we have to be change agents ourselves. We need to be helping our communities and businesses and schools out there because they're in a VUCA environment too. And so we need to be part of the positive change to help us all thrive and flourish. So one strong theme that has emerged in this new iteration of strategic planning has been the importance of partnership. Now, partnership has always been something significant for our university. We're not an ivory tower, but now we need very strategic and intentional partnerships so that we are working very strategically with this, again, volatile, uncertain environment. The partnership that was announced recently with Microsoft is a fantastic example of collaboration. So Microsoft needs more people with certification in their data science. And so by embedding their certification in our data analytics degree, they get more people who are ready to work in that area, and our students get expanded opportunities. McKinsey Global Institute, which is a big think tank, they project by 2018, by next year, a shortage of 1.5 million managers who will need to be able to use big data to make decisions. And Eastern is the only university in the country with this collaboration with Microsoft. And that's amazing. Yeah, that's pretty amazing. And that's part of the kind of partnership that we need to be building. You know, and when I talk about change and the need for us to change, you know, I completely understand that we have always been changing. I mean, clearly we're not the normal school that we were 100 years ago, and we're not the state college, the commuter school that we were a couple of decades ago. We have been evolving and changing as needed. And in fact, last week I was at a meeting hosted by Mary Cullinan in Spokane, and this alumnus came up to me, and he was saying how much he loved hiring our students, that our students were his first choice because they are so ready. They're so prepared when they graduate, and that he just loves working with our students. But he had not been back to our campus in 20 years. Lives in Spokane, hadn't been to Cheney in 20 years. So he took himself on a walking tour of campus a couple of weeks ago, and he was completely blown away. He just couldn't believe what has been going on this campus. And he said, you know, you have the most beautiful campus in this state. And I thought, wow, you know, we do. But sometimes it takes someone from outside to say that to us. And that's the same with all the wonderful things that we're doing. Sometimes just having other people tell us how much good we're doing in the world. Sometimes that helps us see ourselves and inspire us. So that's the other theme that we're going to have to focus on, that I know that the strategic plan will include. And that's that we have to increase our own visibility as a university. And this is something people have been talking about forever, that, you know, people don't know us, that we're not, you know, above the fold in the newspaper, et cetera. But we really now, in this VUCA environment where there's so much competition for students and for resources and for visibility, we have to be more intentional about that. And so that is certainly something that we're going to have to work on, and will be part of that plan as it emerges. So partnerships and visibility, I know, will be in that plan, and there will be many other things coming forward. So we are in an incredibly inspiring place, and for those of you who were at Convocation yesterday and passed through the pillars, you got to see our incoming students. It's pretty amazing. And those two events are incredible part of our traditions here at Eastern. But we learned at Convocation yesterday that our incoming students are here from almost every county in the state. They come from 24 other states and from about 12 other countries. They have been Eagle Scouts, they have been in honor societies, they have been in student government, they have been in every branch of the military. One of them is a Marine who did 2 tours in Afghanistan, and over half of them are the first in their family to go to college. So, you know, we are going to love working with these students and getting to know these students this coming year and into the future. But they too are in a VUCA environment. They too are in a volatile, uncertain environment. And I have to say, and I'm sure you join me, that how many times in the past few months I've just felt incredible grief and anger at things that are going on. There are forces emerging in this country that I think many of us thought we would never see again. And so we had a horrific event at Freeman High School only last week. And many of us know the students and their families who were affected by that. And we were still reeling from events in Charlottesville and from events, horrific events, on campuses and in cities all over this country. In this uncertain political environment, we're seeing the possible end of the DACA program. Now, ending that program would affect many of our students and certainly families and friends of many of us. Ending the DACA program would break a promise that was made to hundreds of thousands of students, young people. And so we have to speak up, we have to be vocal, and join other voices around the country, letting our legislators know the importance of that program. We're also seeing assaults on our Constitution and on free expression. And this too, we have to, as a university, make sure that we respect open, honest conversation, that we encourage dialogue, that this is responsible dialogue and respectful dialogue, but we have to be supporting equity and access and human rights and social justice. That's part of our mission, our transformative mission as a university. So I spoke to you at this time last year, and I asked you to imagine Eastern Washington University. I asked you to imagine us as a magnet for high-achieving students coming to us from all over the country and all over the world. I asked you to imagine that we're known regionally and nationally for our academic excellence, that we're known for our support of diversity, that we are an inclusive, welcoming campus on our way to becoming an Hispanic-serving institution. I asked you to imagine that we are an incredible partner with communities and businesses around the state, and that we are critical for their success. We are a transformational institution. And I've said this again before to you, but we have to keep our doors open to access. And we have to keep our minds open to new ideas. And we have to keep our hearts open so that we continue to be an inclusive, welcoming university. The work we're doing is so incredibly important. And working with you is incredibly inspiring. We are doing great things. We are helping to create the society that our students and we ourselves can continue to thrive and flourish in. So thank you for everything that you do. You are doing amazing, important work, and I very much look forward to our year together. Thank you all so much.